Men's ice hockey team take on Finland for the qualification playoff. President Moon Jae-in holds summit talks with his Slovenian counterpart and meet Olympians from Russia, in addition to showing his support for the home team in PyeongChang. Visibly inspired by the two Koreas' cooperation in PyeongChang, the North's IOC representative hints at the possibility of joining forces again to host the upcoming Asian Winter Games. News Center begins now. It's 8 p.m. here in Korea, live from our studio in Seoul. This is Arirang News Center. Welcome, I'm Daniel Choi. President Moon Jae-in ordered his government to designate the nation's southwestern city of Kunsan as a crisis zone for industry and employment, following General Motors' announcement last week that it would shut down its production plant there.
Upon presidential orders, the Labor Ministry has decided to take emergency steps to name the Gunsan region as an employment crisis area.
The Cheongwade spokesperson added, although the current situation in Kunsan does not meet the criteria to be given such status, the administration is willing to revise the existing regulation to make it possible. Designated crisis zones become eligible for special government subsidies like low-interest loans and financial support for those laid off. Moon expressed concerns over GM's decision as Kunsan employs 2,000 of the U.S. carmaker's 16,000-strong workforce in South Korea, with 1 out of 5 people in the city dependent on GM for their livelihood. It's clear something must be done to normalize General Motors management in the nation, taking into account the impact of the U.S. automaker's unilateral decision to shut down its Kunsan plant. The trade minister emphasized the need for GM Korea to improve transparency. Kim Ji-yeon shares with us his remarks.
In a briefing held Monday, the Minister of Trade, Industry and Energy, PyeongChang, said GM Korea should submit a long-term proposal to improve transparency of its business management in the country, emphasizing that the company should show its commitment to normalize its business prior to asking the government for support. The minister added that any funds provided to the carmaker would originate only within WTO regulation and with the purpose of preventing the shutdown of GM Korea's Kunsan plant, one of 4 assembly plants the company has in the country. Peg also denied accusations that the government had made promises to provide monetary support when it required the automaker to submit a proposal. He also said he understands that as a profit-seeking business entity, the automaker could ultimately decide to pull out of the country, resulting in an undesirable impact on the local job market. Considering such risks, Peg said the government is willing to work with the automaker to improve the situation. One of the ways GM Korea could stay in business is for the automaker to announce Korea as a production allocation of its new crossover vehicle model, instead of other locations such as Mexico. Mabek says the option may not become a deal breaker just yet, since the company seems to experience difficulties in making a final decision that is dependent on the outcome of NAFTA renegotiation talks. If the automaker decides to start making the model in its plants in Bupyeong and Changwon, it's expected to be able to produce about 500,000 units annually. That could help them avoid the same fate of the Kunsan plant, which is to shut down in May, leading to massive loss of workforce of around 2,000 people. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Some speculate America's import restrictions and steep tariffs on foreign producers are intentionally targeting South Korea. There may be a link between trade and national security. Cha Sung-mi sheds light on what Seoul's response to Washington's trade policies should be.
The United States' ever stronger trade protection policies are causing concern for its trading partners, and South Korea, considered a strong ally of the U.S., is no exception. The U.S. has been using a variety of tactics to restrict imports, from anti-dumping rules to recent safeguard measures against Korean-made steel and washing machines. And with the recent thaw in relations between the two Koreas, some say too much pressure on trade may hurt mutual cooperation on security.
Theoretically, the national security and trade issues should be separate. But the Trump administration's policies demonstrate that the national security issue impacts the trade issue.
Another expert says trade and national security are two sides of the same coin, and that President Trump may be trying to kill two birds with one stone by restricting imports from South Korea.
U.S. government or Mr. Trump is considering solution altogether the North Korea's nuclear threat problems and South Korea's continuous trade surplus against the United States in a single shot.
The expert says the true intentions of the U.S. are revealed in the import restrictions Washington continuously imposes on Seoul. Taking into account the U.S. trade deficit with South Korea is nowhere near the size of its deficit with Japan and China. He says the U.S. could be trying to leverage its economic power to further its national security goals. Korea's former Trade Minister Park Tae-ho points out that the United States standards for import restrictions are vague and subjective and are against international trade rules.
The Korean government is considering filing a complaint to the WTO regarding the United States' unilateral trade penalties, and when we do so, we should cooperate with many other countries who are affected by the U.S. trade pressure.
Park says the Trump administration is using its trade pressure as leverage in the ongoing South Korea-U.S. free trade agreement renegotiations, but added that it's unlikely to have a huge impact on the renegotiations to the 6-year-old trade deal. 차상미, Arirang News.
We are into day 11 of the PyeongChang Winter Olympics. Hi, I'm Kim Hae-sung with the latest on the Games. South Korea is eyeing another medal in speed skating, a winter sport in which it dominates. The women's 3,000-meter short track relay will start at 8:30 p.m. Korea time, just 20 minutes from now. South Korea won that event in Sochi 2014 and is looking to defend that title. Keep your eyes on 19-year-old Choi Min-jung, who clinched gold in the women's 1,500-meter event. The South Korean women's curling team is on fire. In the 10th round-robin session this afternoon, the home team claimed victory against Team USA by 9-6, securing their place in the semifinals. This comes after they narrowly beat Sweden 7-6 yesterday. The squad managed to get this far by beating Canada, Switzerland, Great Britain, and simply taking China to school. The Unified Korea women's ice hockey team's Olympic season draws to a close. Their final match was against Sweden today, and the joint team failed to record wins, losing 6-1 in their 7th place match. But still, they were a headline grabber during the games, winning numerous fans as a symbol of peace and unity. There was also ice dancing this morning. South Korean duo Minura and Alexander Gamelin ranked 18th with a score of 147.74, dancing to the traditional Korean folk song Arirang. Moving on to speed skating, one of South Korea's strongest winter sports, 24-year-old Cha Min-gyu had a silver finish in the men's 500-meter event Monday night. Clocking in at 34.42 seconds, he was just 1/100th of a second behind Norway's Havard Lorentzen. But then remember, this is Cha's Olympic debut, meaning we could be seeing more of him, possibly higher up the podium in the future. And now that brings us to the medal tally. Norway's on top with 11 gold, 9 silver, and 8 bronze medals. Trailing behind is Germany with 20 medals. Sweden ranks 7th, and the host country South Korea is in the 9th place with 3 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze medals. There is still a lot of exciting events to come. Tomorrow morning, there's that women's curling, and South Korea will take on Russia. In alpine skiing, there's the ladies downhill, and in men's freestyle skiing, the ski cross final is also lined up, so don't miss it. That's all I have for now. Stay tuned to Arirang News for the latest updates on the PyeongChang Winter Olympics, and I'll leave you with today's results.
Thank you for those updates, Haesung. Thousands of people from around the world are keeping the long tradition of Olympic volunteering alive. They have been taking extra steps to make the global games even more special and convenient for the athletes, fans, and media in the host city. Lee Ji-won gets us better acquainted with these selfless individuals.
More than 20,000 official and unofficial volunteers are helping participants and spectators all around the host cities. And in this year's Olympics, the organizing committee in the host cities went a step further to make things more convenient. Information centers are nothing new, but roaming information centers like these volunteers are. Each with a purple bag containing maps of the Olympic Park and schedules for the buses, they take turns fanning out from the information center to bring visitors the information they need so they don't have to come all the way to the center.
It was really nice to find someone who could help us right away at the site. I felt saved.
The volunteers get extra training to deal with on-site issues, so they say they feel a great sense of responsibility in their jobs.
We are out here on our own, and people change their routes right away based on the information we give them. So we need to be quick and accurate. It was hard at first, but our sense of responsibility and pride in our country has driven us to do better every day.
The Gender Equality Support Center is another new service at PyeongChang 2018. Previous global sporting events have had problems with sexual assault. Instead of concealing these cases, the PyeongChang Organizing Committee and the host province were determined to address the issue properly. When a victim comes to one of the 4 centers, they get professional counseling and short-term therapy. The centers also connect victims to the police and larger facilities where they can get legal recourse and medical treatment if they choose to.
This service is intended to make the Games a clean and healthy sporting event for all. We've gotten a lot of attention worldwide. We hope this center becomes an Olympic legacy that helps improve women's rights around the world.
Local and private organizations have also taken extra steps to help visitors. The Helping Hand Center at Gangneung Station helps visitors with small and big requests in 10 different languages, including Russian, Spanish, and even sign language. Though the group usually provides disaster relief and community services, they're willing to serve wherever they can be of help.
We want to help any way we can, and there is a great need for translation services at the Olympics. A lot of people have thanked us for what we've been able to do here.
Despite the cold weather and their tiring schedule, thousands of volunteers are hard at work in every corner of the host cities with the same goal, providing people with a better experience and contributing to the successful hosting of the 2018 Winter Games. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News, Gangneung.
A summit meeting was held between President Moon Jae-in and his visiting Slovenian counterpart at the top office. The Liberal leader also spent time with Russian representatives of Russian athletes to provide encouragement as they could not compete under their country's flag in the PyeongChang Games. Hwang Ho-jun has more on the continued Olympic diplomacy.
South Korean President Moon Jae-in greeted his Slovenian counterpart, President Borut Pahor, at the Blue House on Tuesday, where they held a summit meeting. It was the first visit by a Slovenian president to South Korea since the two countries established diplomatic relations in 1992. During the meeting, President Moon expressed his gratitude for President Pahor's visit during the PyeongChang Winter Olympic Games and praised how the two countries have increased their trade by more than 20-fold in the past 10 years.
그간 한국과 슬로베니아가 상호 우정과 신뢰 그리고 또 공동의 가치를 기반으로 화해적 협력 관계를 발전시켜 온 것을 아주 만족스럽게 생각합니다.
The two leaders agreed to enhance cooperation in various areas, including logistics, noting that Korean companies are already using Slovenia's southwestern city of Koper as a gateway for shipments to Central and Eastern Europe. They also agreed to exempt their respective nationals working in the other's country from having to pay into local social security programs. Rather, those contributions will be counted toward equivalent programs back in their home countries. In addition, Presidents Moon and Pahor shared their views on boosting global efforts to denuclearize North Korea. The Slovenian president said he admires President Moon's efforts to peacefully resolve the nuclear issue and expressed his desire to help achieve that.
I would like to see much more involvement of European Union in this very, very important security and political issue that everybody is watching now. I think we could be of some more help as we are at the moment.
Shortly after the luncheon meeting, President Moon invited delegates representing the Olympic athletes from Russia to the Blue House as an act of encouragement. Russian athletes are competing in PyeongChang as individuals after their national team was banned over a state-sponsored doping scandal. President Moon said he is grateful that Russia sent a large number of athletes despite the situation. The Russian representatives delivered an invitation from President Vladimir Putin for President Moon to visit Russia for football's World Cup later this year. Hong-Woo-jun, Arirang News.
Could the two Koreas team up once again to host another major sporting event? North Korea's IOC official says, why not, after giving high praise to PyeongChang Olympics. Kim Young-gil fills us in on the possible scenario if South Korea wins the bid to host the Asian Winter Games in 2021.
The North Korean representative on the International Olympic Committee, Chang Ung, said Tuesday that it is possible for the two Koreas to jointly hold the 2021 Asian Winter Games. According to Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency, Chang made the remarks in Beijing on his way back to North Korea, after suddenly leaving PyeongChang last Sunday for health reasons. Chang mentioned that if that happens, the Masikryong ski resort on the outskirts of North Korea's east coast city of Wonsan could be used as one of the competition venues for 2021 Asian Winter Games. Chang made the remarks after the governor of South Korea's Gangwon province, Choi Mun-sun, said last Saturday that he is considering a proposal to co-host the 2021 Asian Winter Games with North Korea to strengthen ties between the two Koreas. Gangwon province is the host province of the 2018 PyeongChang Winter Olympics. Experts on North Korea say Choi's proposal could have been inspired by the two Koreas having a unified women's ice hockey team for the PyeongChang Winter Games, as well as the North participation in the Games through cheerleading, art performances, and taekwondo demonstrations. And when Yonhap News Agency reporters in Beijing asked Chang for his assessment of the PyeongChang Winter Olympics, he said he would give the Olympics a perfect score, as it provided a chance to demonstrate harmony among all Korean people. The Asian Winter Games is an international multi-sport event held every 4 years for members of the Olympic Council of Asia. The host of the 2021 event will be decided at the 2018 Asian Summer Games in Indonesia in August. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
Ivanka Trump will be in South Korea for the Olympic closing ceremony. Her visit could be a chance to convince Washington to allow inter-Korean talks. Kwon Jang-woo explains how the Moon administration could be driven by a singular purpose when welcoming America's first daughter.
Seoul is preparing a warm welcome for Ivanka Trump for a trip to South Korea later this week. She's set to arrive on Friday and stay for 3 nights. The main purpose of her visit will be to lead the US delegation at the closing ceremony of the PyeongChang Winter Olympics on Sunday, where she's expected to be seated next to President Moon Jae-in. Foreign ministry officials have said that a separate meeting between the two is also likely over the weekend. There's also talk that President Moon or another senior official, such as Seoul's Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa, might accompany Ivanka Trump to Olympic events to support Team USA. Seoul is also reportedly arranging events that are in line with her role as an advocate for women's rights and empowerment. It's unusual for the family member of a world leader to receive such treatment. A foreign ministry official has said that there are no official guidelines to help them prepare. But Seoul's lavish reception of Kim Yo-jong, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister, who came as part of the North Korean delegation for the opening ceremony, has led to pressure to provide similar hospitality to the US first daughter. Ivanka Trump is also considered to have her father's ear, and Seoul is looking to court her potential influence at a time when South Korea looks to orchestrate talks with North Korea. But observers aren't expecting too much from the visit.
I don't think there should be any expectation. I think this should be about creating a good mood and understanding I think we need to be careful not to go too far in overestimating our influence over the president. But at the same time, I don't think it hurts the South Korean government to have good relationship with some of the closest advisors to President Trump, and Ivanka Trump clearly is one of them.
When US Vice President Mike Pence came for the opening ceremony, he met with a group of North Korean defectors to highlight North Korea's human rights issues. A similar event might also be on the cards for Ivanka Trump to make a similar statement and keep pressure on Pyongyang. Kwon Arirang News.
Rival parties managed to vote on pending bills during today's plenary session, but in many other areas, it's still a long and bumpy road ahead with the clock ticking. Kim Min-ji has the latest from Parliament.
Rival lawmakers had their sleeves rolled up on Tuesday to make up for a two-week parliamentary standstill. In a plenary session, they passed more than 60 pending bills, including ones on improving people's lives and boosting public safety. Time is of the essence now since half the month was lost to partisan bickering. Plus, the February session was shortened, in part by the Lunar New Year holiday break and by the PyeongChang Winter Olympics. As a result, key bills had been put on hold, despite the parties vowing to work for the people when the session kicked off 3 weeks back. For the remainder of the month, the Parliament's Judiciary Committee will need to deliberate and pass bills submitted by relevant standing committees, something that has to be done before the bills can be put up for a vote during a plenary session. One of them is a special bill related to the military's deadly crackdown on pro-democracy protesters in the southwestern city of Gwangju in 1980. It calls for the creation of an independent body to look into the use of force against civilians by the military regime of then-President Chun Doo-hwan. And beyond that, rival lawmakers have still got plenty on their plates. Rival parties have managed to avert the disgrace of leaving the February session empty-handed, but now the big task at hand is crafting a proposal for amending the Constitution. They'll need to agree on both the specific content of an amendment and the timing of a referendum before the government is done with its own version. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
One of the most hotly debated topics in Korea is constitutional revision. While most agree on the need for it, many are at odds on how it should be changed. According to our Park Hee-jun, efforts are ongoing to ensure a smooth, inclusive, and peaceful process.
The National Assembly is racing against time to make progress on finalizing a proposal for a constitutional amendment, which the government is pushing to put to a national vote during the local elections in June. A seminar co-hosted by the National Assembly Research Service and the Korean Association of Party Studies was held Tuesday to discuss the pressing issue. Lawmakers, professors, and members of the press gathered at the National Assembly to share their views on the vitality of an amendment and to provide insight on how to reach a consensus.
I believe we have what's needed for a successful revision. Now we just need all lawmakers to reach a consensus and for the public to be part of that law. I hope that today's debate will act as an impetus for the amendment.
Although there were various opinions on issues such as how to limit the president's power, all participants agreed that the constitutional revision should reflect the willingness of the government to best serve the people. And the government is already striving for that goal. Its Special Public Advisory Committee on the Constitution launched a website on Monday to gather public opinion on the various issues surrounding the constitutional revision. The general public can not only voice their opinions on existing details regarding the Constitution, but also bring up new questions that they wish to add to the revision. In order for the vote to be held alongside the local elections, the proposal needs to be set by mid-June. The government is pushing for a constitution that best reflects the recent social and economic changes and one that follows the wishes of the Korean people. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
Time to turn to Michelle Bach at the Weather Center for the updates you need. Michelle, temperatures have surely risen, but along with warmer conditions, there's more dust in the air.
That's right, Daniel. Now, pollution was high in Seoul, but the air quality has bounced back to normal. However, the southern areas of the country should expect high levels of dust throughout the evening. Speaking of, now temperatures, you should wear warmer clothes tomorrow. Seoul will wake up to -5 degrees Celsius, Daegu at -2 degrees, Busan at just 2 degrees. But we can still expect mild afternoon tomorrow. Seoul goes up to 4 degrees. Gwangju and Busan peaks up to 6 and 9 degrees respectively. This week, the mornings will stay chilly, but the daily highs, they are expected to go up further. Now, on Thursday night through Friday morning, the central region can expect some precipitation as well. The weather in PyeongChang is on the mild side as well, and it's less windy tomorrow, so the Olympic Games should go smoothly as it is. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
That's it for tonight's edition of News Center. Wherever you may be tuning in from, thank you for watching.